Welcome back to the SMT YouTube channel. In this video, I'd just like to describe kind of a situation that's happening with the industry and, looking at where we've been and kind of where we are and probably where we're going. So to start first, over the last several years, the marketing message from T-Mobile to the marketplace is we are the best network. We have the most modern network. We have the largest 5G network, fastest 5G network. That's what it's been about. 5G coverage, 5G performance, speeds, all those kind of things. That message has changed recently where now it's just we have the best network, and then they cite whichever data sets kind of support their claim. Now, this has always been a Verizon thing. Largest network, most reliable network, and then AT&T comes in. And FirstNet changes a lot of that. It really makes the AT&T network much more competitive and, makes it a lot like Verizon in terms of overall coverage and square miles and those things. And, that's what it's been. That's what it's been. And it's good that these networks get bigger and better all the time for the customer. But to speak to the marketing piece, T-Mobile no longer really pushes the 5G narrative. Right now they're just pushing the network piece, like, we're the best network. Like, that's what we do. It's not Verizon anymore, kind of the story. And then Verizon kind of gets mad, and Verizon does a commercial with Kevin Hart, talking about awards and T-Mobile's meaningless awards and how Verizon continues to win the most important ones and those kind of things. And you think about like what it took for Verizon to finally respond to all those punches thrown from T-Mobile, and it was network questioning. Like, now that really seemed to bother Verizon. Like, they were okay with everything else, but they weren't okay with somebody saying they had a better network than them. So they finally responded. Now, what you have to understand about this, and kind of why I made this video, is I think Verizon felt comfortable saying this because I think they're about to, level up their network. I do. I think T-Mobile's heavy investment into their 5G network has happened. Moving forward, it's going to be kind of like a slow grind, right? So in the places where they need to shore up coverage, they'll add some coverage. You can expect them to build some sites here and there that'll improve the range of their network. But, they shored up with T-Satellite, and that's going to be doing a lot of that coverage gap, crutch work. Meanwhile, I think because, Verizon is Verizon and it's their thing is the network, I would expect to see them further increase the reach of their network. And AT&T with FirstNet, they're in that conversation too, to add more coverage, to improve and modernize. I kind of think T-Mobile's advantage kind of comes to an end at this point because they don't really have a reason to do anything else, right? They're no longer the small upstart, the battery pack, in the back kind of deal company. And, Verizon, they're seeing what AT&T has with FirstNet, and they're seeing what T-Mobile's doing with the marketing, and they're winning and all those things. And they're as focused as ever. And they're going to be looking to really do some things here with the network, I believe, through this year, with the C-band piece getting to 80 to 90% of the sites upgraded, finishing that project next year, adding thousands of new sites. I would expect to I guess in some ways match AT&T's, but probably try to surpass them in coverage if they have taken it, beyond them. And, they've got the Frontier piece, so there's a reason why they want to have wireless built out better. They haven't even really addressed small cell upgrades with C-band yet. I expect that to happen next year, and I expect their capex to remain above $18 billion. You think about AT&T, they're focusing more so on fiber and they're modernizing the wireless network, but it isn't inspiring, that they're playing catch up, and then for T-Mobile, I think the golden era for T-Mobile is probably coming to an end. Not that they're going to start being bad. It's just, you kind of hitting your head on the ceiling, and they've been looking at ways to get into fiber. So I kind of see it that way. Like, Verizon started making these advertisements with Kevin Hart about the network because I think they're going to back it up. it's what they did in LTE, and they're still focused on wireless as ever. So I don't really expect that to change. And that's not to say that T-Mobile and AT&T's networks aren't respectable and aren't good. I look at the way that Verizon handled LTE, and I expect them to look at 5G the same way, with densification, with small cell enhancements, the same way. They don't want to make an incomplete network. They still want to be the best network. So I expect that to continue. And when you see that advertisement with Kevin Hart about the network, I think that confirms that Verizon's comfortable that they're going to continue to move in that direction. But we'll see what that time frame is like. Is it something that we tangibly see this year, next year, the year after? We'll have to wait and see for that. But advertisements you see from T-Mobile about having the best network, that struck a chord with VZ, and I think they're ready to just go ahead, and they've already been upgrading at a blistering pace, and I just don't see it really stopping. And so big cities are done with C-band. You're going to see more of that in the suburban. Rural upgrades are happening. New tower builds are happening, and they have likely a bunch of things planned for the future because they're making advertisements about the network and how they can't be touched, and they won't be touched, right? So that's kind of how I take it, but I'm sure we'll get more details and stuff in the future from Verizon as they give us the plans on the network and things like that. But let me know what you guys think about all this. Like, share, subscribe, drop us some comments. We'll see you guys soon on the next one.